Hey, what's going on?
Don't move! You hear me?
Sir, I work here.
Face the wall.
Man, I didn't
I'm
do anything.
recording, officer.
Babe, it's fine. Just keep it rolling.
You don't have a warrant. You're in my house.
Tell me why you're here.
Stand by.
Racist cops slammed a quiet black man into the wall of his own house, screaming that he was acting smart, while pointing a gun at his chest. They shoved him, cursed at him, and told him he had no right to speak. But what they didn't know is that this ordinary black man they were rough handling was a decorated intelligence officer who once saved the lives of the very politicians who signed the police chief's paycheck. And when the truth came out, this whole town, this whole department, and those officers were never the same again. Before we get into the story, hit that subscribe button and tell us where in the world you're watching from. Your comments help push stories like this to more people. Don't move again, boy. Officer Grant Holloway's voice exploded through the tiny hallway like a bomb. Malcolm Hines didn't even get a chance to breathe. The officer had him pinned against the drywall beside the shoe rack, forearm crushing into his chest so hard Malcolm felt the air squeeze out of him. I live here, Malcolm begged softly, his hands forced above his head. Holloway slammed him again. You trying to be smart? He barked, spit hitting Malcolm's cheek. You touch that phone again, I swear. The officer's other hand hovered near his gun. Body cam blinking red. Recording everything. Malcolm's boots were still on. Dust still clung to his shirt from the job he'd come home from 20 minutes ago. Dinner sat unfinished on the stove. He hadn't even taken a sip of water yet. He had simply opened the door after hearing the pounding. And now this. Malcolm Hines looked like an average man. Short beard. Faded work pants. Calloused hands. No fancy clothes. No shine. No big presence. He rarely raised his voice. He rarely argued. Most people thought he was just a tired HVAC technician trying to make ends meet. But beneath the quiet? Beneath the calm eyes? Under the surface of that working-class shell? Malcolm carried memories that he could never talk about. He carried the weight of missions in foreign deserts. Names of people he protected. Secrets locked behind clearance levels most officers could never imagine. But he didn't flaunt it. He didn't brag. He didn't walk around with medals or stories. In this moment, though, with Holloway crushing him against the wall, with the white officer shouting inches away, with neighbors watching through peeking curtains, Malcolm was just a black man being treated like he didn't belong in his own home. Why are you in my house? Malcolm forced out, his voice trembling more from lack of air than fear. Holloway pressed his forehead close. You want to keep asking questions? Keep acting like you know something? Try it again. Silence. The shout echoed through the living room. From down the hall, Ariana's terrified voice cracked. Grant, stop. He didn't do anything. She stood frozen by the bathroom door, phone shaking in her hand. Her fingers trembled as she recorded, trying her best not to cry. Ariana, Malcolm whispered, stay back. Holloway turned toward her. You recording me? Really? You people always recording something. You people. The phrase hit Malcolm harder than the shove. A knife twisted with that old familiar sting. The kind he learned to swallow long ago. Holloway snapped his fingers at her like she was a dog. Put the phone down. Now. No, Ariana said, voice cracking but steady. I'm not lowering anything. Holloway stepped toward her, hand on gun, but Malcolm flinched, terrified the officer would touch her. Don't hurt her, Malcolm gasped. Holloway spun back and slammed Malcolm again. Oh, so now you got a voice? He mocked. Should have used it earlier instead of acting like a guilty punk. I didn't do anything, Malcolm whispered. The officer snorted. You fit the description. That's all we need. The description. The same excuse used daily in towns all across the country. Malcolm could hear neighbors outside whispering. Watching. Filming. Hoping. But none stepped inside. No one wanted to get involved. Holloway yanked Malcolm's wallet from his pocket. What's this? He said with fake confusion. A military ID? Bet you bought that online. Malcolm didn't answer. He couldn't. He wasn't allowed to speak. Holloway tossed the ID on the floor like trash. So what are you really? A suspect? A runner? A thief? Malcolm's hands curled slightly, not to fight but because something deep inside him cracked. A piece of pride. A piece of dignity. A piece that had taken years to build after the military. He whispered again. I live here. Holloway smirked. Not for long. At that moment, before things got worse, a shadow appeared in the doorway behind Holloway. A tall man. Broad shoulders. Clean suit. A face half hidden by the angle. But Malcolm recognized the voice instantly. "Officer," the man said, calm but sharp. "Take your hands off my former sergeant." Holloway froze. The hallway suddenly felt colder. So dangerously quiet. Because the man standing there wasn't a neighbor. Wasn't a random visitor. It was Director Rowan Hale, a federal intelligence official Malcolm once saved overseas. And he wasn't alone. Behind him stood two heavy tactical agents in plain clothes. Holloway blinked in confusion. Who are you?" Director Hale stepped forward, pulling out a black badge with a silver seal that had more authority in Washington than Holloway's entire department combined. "You are Grant Holloway," Hale said coldly. "And you just assaulted a federal intelligence asset in his own home." Holloway's face turned white. Malcolm's chest rose and fell slowly. Not from fear, but because he finally felt the storm turning. Finally. Hale didn't shout. He didn't curse. He didn't raise a fist. He just spoke softly, calmly, the way powerful people do when they know the room belongs to them. "Officer," Hale said, "your body cam is recording. And it has captured enough evidence to end your career, your pension, and likely your freedom." Holloway opened his mouth but nothing came out. Ariana lowered her phone slightly, tears filling her eyes. Malcolm stood still, hands still raised. But the power had shifted completely. The wolf who thought he controlled the room now stood face to face with the real apex predator. Hale turned to his agents. "Secure the scene. Remove the officer from the house. And protect the Hines family." The two agents stepped forward. "Officer, hand over your weapon." Holloway swallowed hard. This is a misunderstanding. "Hand over your weapon." And finally, Holloway obeyed. For the first time in the entire confrontation, Malcolm could breathe. Ariana rushed to Malcolm, hugging him tightly. Her body trembled. His did too. Hale placed a gentle hand on Malcolm's shoulder. "You should have called me sooner," he said softly. Malcolm gave a tired, broken smile. "I wanted a normal life." Hale nodded. "I know. But the world doesn't always let black men live quietly. Even heroes." Malcolm didn't argue. He couldn't. His eyes burned. Not from pain, but from the truth. Hale looked Holloway dead in the eyes and said, "Remember this, power isn't who you can hurt. It's who you protect." But what comes next is even bigger. Because that body cam? It didn't just expose one racist cop, it exposed the entire department. And in court, the city tried to bury Malcolm. But they forgot one thing: he was never alone. Malcolm barely slept that night. Even after Holloway was removed from the home, even after Hale stayed to make sure the family felt safe, even after the agents swept the house, Malcolm paced the floor like a ghost looking for answers. Ariana sat on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, her eyes red. "You almost died," she whispered. Her voice cracked. She looked at his chest, where Holloway's forearm had pressed so hard it left a bruise shaped like a weapon. Malcolm didn't respond. He stared at the wall where his body had slammed earlier. The dent was still there. He touched it with his fingertips, slowly, almost like he needed proof it happened. Ariana rose and hugged him from behind, holding him tightly. "You're still here," she whispered. "That's what matters. You're still here, Malcolm." Malcolm breathed out. A long, broken breath. Then he nodded. But deep down he knew this wasn't over. Not even close. At 7 a.m. the next morning, the police department was in complete chaos. Phones rang nonstop. News vans parked outside. Reporters crowded the lobby demanding answers. On the wall-mounted TV, a news anchor spoke. "Breaking news. Body cam footage from Officer Grant Holloway shows possible unlawful entry and force against a local resident, Malcolm Hines." Chief Ronald Ketteridge, a heavy-set man with permanent sweat on his forehead, watched the footage with shaking hands. This is bad," he muttered. His assistant Sarah whispered, "Sir, the whole city is talking. #Justice for Malcolm is trending everywhere." Ketteridge slammed his fist on the desk. "We need to control this." But he couldn't. Because the video was unmistakable. Holloway forcing Malcolm. Slamming him. Mocking him. Threatening him. Calling Ariana, "You people." And then, the moment Director Hale walked in, the chief rewound that part again and again. Each time he swallowed harder. "What is a federal intelligence director doing in MY town?" he muttered. Sarah whispered, "Sir, that's the part people online keep replaying. Especially the look on your officer's face." Ketteridge knew it the second he saw the badge. Holloway messed with the wrong man. Director Hale visited the Hines home early that morning. He sat at their kitchen table, without a suit jacket, without bodyguards, Just a man concerned for a friend. Ariana poured coffee, but her hands were still shaking. Thank you for last night, Malcolm said. You saved my life once, Hale replied. This is nothing compared to that. Malcolm nodded slowly. Hale slid a folder across the table. This is a civil rights attorney. One of the best in the state. You deserve justice. Malcolm hesitated. I just wanted peace, he said. I didn't want all this. Hale leaned forward. Malcolm, racism doesn't care about what you want. You didn't ask for war. But war still came to your front door. Malcolm looked at Ariana. Her eyes were soft but strong. Then he said the words that changed everything. Okay, let's take them to court. The lawsuit hit the city like a punch to the throat. Police officers whispered in hallways. City leaders panicked. Local radio stations exploded with calls and arguments. Some people defended Holloway. Some blamed Malcolm. Some denied race played a role. But the footage didn't lie. And Hale made sure the federal government didn't either. The courthouse was packed. Every seat filled. Reporters lined the aisles. Protesters stood outside holding signs. Justice for Malcolm. End racist policing. Body cams don't lie. Malcolm walked in wearing a simple gray suit. No medals. No ribbons. No signs of his past life. He didn't need them. Ariana held his hand the whole way. Holloway sat on the other side, face pale, suit wrinkled, eyes darting nervously. 3 lawyers surrounded him. The police union funded them. When the judge walked in, everyone stood. Court began. The prosecutor pressed play. The courtroom went silent as the footage filled the screen. Pounding on the door. Malcolm opening it. Holloway barging in. Shoving him. Cursing. Mocking Ariana. Calling Malcolm boy. Threatening him with a gun. Gasps filled the room. Whispers spread like wildfire. When Holloway slammed Malcolm into the wall, someone in the back yelled, "Oh my God!" A juror covered her mouth. Another shook his head. And then, the moment everyone waited for. Director Hale stepping into frame. Badge flashing. Voice calm. Take your hands off my former sergeant. The courtroom erupted. The judge pounded the gavel. Order. Order. But the damage was done. The jury had seen everything. Holloway's lawyer stood. Officer Holloway acted on a reported burglary. He feared for his safety. The prosecutor fired back. Is it standard to threaten unarmed homeowners? Slam them without reason? Call black women you people? Enter a home without a warrant? Holloway stuttered. I thought he fit the description. What description? The prosecutor demanded. Silence. The entire courtroom leaned in. Holloway whispered, tall black male. The prosecutor slammed the desk. That is half the men in this city. The jury stared at Holloway like he was poison. He knew then. He had lost. The prosecutor called a new witness. Director Rowan Hale, please take the stand. Murmurs filled the room. Hale walked calmly, sat down, and faced the court with a steady gaze. Mr. Hale, the prosecutor said, can you tell the court who Malcolm Hines is? Hale took a deep breath. Malcolm Hines is a decorated intelligence sergeant. He saved the lives of 5 American diplomats during the Ember Valley attack. If not for his actions, the attack would have been the worst loss of American personnel in 20 years. The room exploded. Gasp. Shouting. Someone even cried. Malcolm lowered his head, embarrassed by the attention. Hale wasn't finished. He has risked his life for this country more times than Officer Holloway has written parking tickets. And he deserved respect the moment that door opened. Holloway shrank in his seat. He looked like a child who just realized the monster under his bed was real, and sitting in front of him. After 5 hours of deliberation, the jury returned. Everyone stood. The forewoman spoke. We find the defendant, Officer Grant Holloway, liable for unlawful entry, assault, racial discrimination, and violation of civil rights. Ariana gasped. Malcolm squeezed her hand. The forewoman continued. We award the plaintiff, Malcolm Hines, $9.4 million in damages. The room erupted again. Holloway's face turned gray. The chief put his head in his hands. Ariana burst into tears. Malcolm held her as the crowd cheered. But Malcolm didn't smile. He just breathed, slow, steady, letting the weight of everything lift from his shoulders. Outside the courthouse, cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. Malcolm finally stepped up to the podium. He didn't yell. He didn't brag. He didn't talk about his past. He just said one simple line. Let this be a reminder. A man's worth is not what you see. It's what you never bothered to look for. And with that, He walked away holding Ariana's hand. A quiet hero heading home. If you felt this story, hit that subscribe button and tell us in the comments. Do you think Malcolm should speak at schools about this experience? Your voice matters. Your comments matter. And your shares help stories like this reach more people who need hope, justice, and truth.